Chinese President Xi Jinping is now wrapped up his three-day meeting with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin by pledging to shape a new world order.
A new wind is blowing on the political stage of the world. Two of the most powerful men in the world, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin, have recently concluded a three-day meeting, wrapping up their discussions with a pledge that may potentially shake the global dynamics. They committed to shaping a new world order, a reshuffling of powers and alliances, a shift that they believe is part of the driving changes unseen in a century.
In the bid to strengthen ties, South Africa's governing party, the African National Congress, also known as the ANC, has sent senior officials to Russia to discuss reshaping of the global order with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Russian president also signed a new foreign policy which aimed at curtailing Western dominance.
In an increasingly globalized world, the dynamics of power and economic control are rapidly shifting. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, collectively known as BRICS, announced their intention to create a new currency. Their aim is not merely to establish an alternative economic asset, but to dismantle the long-held dependence on the US dollar and Western currencies. This major shift reflects the prophecy in the Book of Revelation. Revelation's prophetic vision foretells of a time when no one can buy or sell without the mark or the name of the beast, suggesting an impending control of world currencies and economic systems. The prophecy seems to be slowly unfolding as the United States' once unrivaled superpower status and the US dollar's supremacy are showing signs of diminishing.
Steve, are they ready for this? China is now trying to replace the US dollar with their currency in global trade. What do you think of that story, Steve?
Well, China, for several years, has made very clear, along with the Russians, they want to downgrade the dollar because they think that'll enhance their power around the world. And certainly the way we've treated the dollar over the year has gone in that direction.
Is the United States dollar under threat?
The US dollar, post-World War II, became the central pillar supporting the world economy. The reason was simple. The United States, as a nation, was synonymous with a strong economy, democratic governance, and transparent regulatory systems. International investors found comfort in this stability, making the dollar their currency of choice. However, recent events suggest a possible shift in this dynamic.
But now the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have announced plans to develop a new currency. Their goal is to reduce reliance on the US dollar and other Western currencies as well. In fact, Brazil and China have already struck a deal to bypass the dollar when paying for trade goods, which is a major milestone in Beijing's long-term plans to establish its own currency, the yuan, as the dominant international currency.
It's evident that China, particularly, is positioning itself to challenge the supremacy of the US dollar in global trade. Their intent isn't obscure. They aim to enhance their global influence by downgrading the dollar, thus shifting the balance of power. Despite concerns regarding China's lack of real capital markets and capital controls, this development cannot be overlooked. China's audacious moves extend beyond the financial sector. Xi Jinping's successful brokering of the Iran-Saudi Arabia deal underscores his ambition to be viewed as a prominent world leader. His increasing credibility among developing nations cannot be dismissed. This budding alliance between China and Russia was further affirmed in their joint statement, wherein they identified the U.S. and its allies as major security threats in Asia. The tensions over the South China Sea, the looming shadow of a potential war with Taiwan, these geopolitical events have only heightened global anxieties. The U.S. and China are engaged in a power tug-of-war, with each side viewing the other as an obstacle to their rise. This tension is causing a rapid decline in their relationship, which can only be rectified by extraordinary leadership on either side. The U.S. losing its superpower status by 2030 isn't just a conspiracy theory. The National Intelligence Council is predicting it. They're saying that power won't belong to any one country, but instead to networks and coalitions. Sounds familiar, right? That's got Daniel's prophecy of a beast-led world governance system written all over it. Specifically, Daniel's similar vision of a world governance system inaugurated by a powerful beast. The prophecy tells us of a 10-nation confederation, a group that seems to be forming right in front of our eyes. The G7, for instance, an international group consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States, exemplifies this shift. But new power structures are also emerging, including BRICS, which is exploring the creation of a new digital currency.
The Chinese have, of course, long aspired to develop a digital yuan as an alternative trading currency.
China feels that the United States is trying to contain it. It's trying to stop China's rise. It's trying to stop China from being a player. And of course, that doesn't go over very well in China. On the other hand, we in the United States were concerned about China's growth. And so we have aligned ourselves with Pacific countries, Australia, Japan, et cetera. And we are trying to figure out ways to stop China's rise, to be honest.
But where's this all heading? Have you ever really dug into the book of Revelation? It's like an end-of-the-world thriller right in the Bible. It talks about some pretty wild stuff, like a time when you'll need some kind of mark just to buy a loaf of bread or sell your old guitar. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about the infamous mark of the beast. Now let's take a step back and look around us. We've got the BRICS working on creating their very own digital currency. What's the big deal? You might say cryptocurrencies are everywhere. But this is different. A new digital currency backed by some of the world's biggest economies, it's like a new player stepping into the ring and shaking things up. It's a massive game changer. And let's not forget about China. Oh, China's way ahead of the game. They've got this system in place already in China. They call it the social credit score system. It's not about your credit card bills or your mortgage. It's about how you behave as a citizen. If you play nice, follow the rules, you get points. But if you step out of line, they take points away. And you might find yourself unable to do basic things like getting on a train, fly in a plane. Sounds familiar, right? The mark? This system in China is already limiting people's freedom, and it's not a far stretch to imagine something even more controlling, something darker. It's like the Antichrist doing a test run of his future plans, playing puppeteer with our freedoms. And we're just getting a front row seat, watching it all unfold. So, my friends, brace yourself. As the Bible warned us, it seems like that interesting future might not be too far off after all. Let's keep our eyes open, our faith strong, and our hearts ready for whatever comes next. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that things are only going to get more interesting from here on out. So, my friends, while the world seems to be aligning with this prophetic timeline, remember that our hope and salvation are in Jesus Christ. We got to keep our eyes on the prize and trust that everything will unfold according to God's plan. Now, it's your turn. Let's chat about this in the comments. Seen anything interesting happening in the world related to a one-world currency or governance? Remember, in all this, keep your trust in Jesus. He's our ticket to salvation in this life and beyond.